Very good.
All right. So it is 8:30. Today is Thursday, June 10th, 2021. And I'd like to call the combined special meeting of the trustees of the Tulsa Airport Improvement Trust, the meeting of the members of the Tulsa Airport Authority to order. We've got the first two items is approve the minutes of the May 13th combined meeting, and secondly, approve the minutes of the combined May 27th meeting, and we can take those in one motion.
So moved.
Second, items 1 and 2.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Financial and operating report.
All right, I'll start things off. And first, I'd like to say good morning. It's wonderful to see everybody in person. I'm absolutely thrilled to kind of be back to a normal sense of things, and especially here at the airport as things are picking up, returning to normal, for you guys to be able to come out and see the activity that's taking place, I think is great. I do want to kick things off by introducing our intern, or one of our interns from the Tulsa's Next Gen Talent Program. Haley Rosell is here with us, and she will be a senior at Edison, and she doesn't have to be here till 9:30, and she showed up an hour early just for our board meeting. So I appreciate that interest. Thank you. On our cover slide, you can see we have a beautiful new blue airplane that's flying into Tulsa. Breeze Airways officially kicked off last week with their service to Tampa. They're flying 3 days a week right now to Tampa. Hopefully they'll add additional frequency soon. But they will launch San Antonio in New Orleans on July 15th. And that's our 7th airline now operating here. It's nice to have some diversification in air carriers. With those 3 cities, we'll have 20 nonstop destinations. And so they provide just another great low-cost alternative for our customers looking for that vacation or connection with family. And we do have breaking news today about new air service. American Airlines announced this morning that we'll be getting Austin daily service starting November 2nd. And it's going to be an evening departure, 6 p.m. departure. You get into Austin around 7:30. And it's something that, you know, the Austin market and Tulsa have been connected for a long time. So to have that nonstop connection is just going to make it that much easier for our residents to go there, and for, you know, their residents from here. We have a lot of synergies between our communities. So congratulations to Andrew for helping us secure that service for both of them, Breeze and American. And we are seeing our capacity come back. Our airline seat capacity for June so far was down about 13.5%. With that being said, the volume of passenger activity is starting to recover. We're looking more and more like 2019, which is our benchmark year. And you'll see in Fabio's slides, we're not going to benchmark against 2020. We're going to do our best to put that behind us and really shoot for 2019, which was our peak activity and you know, in over 5 years. And so for the fact that we're back to about 83% of 2019 activity is really, I think, looking good. And I think in the weeks ahead, especially with summer travel, we're going to get pretty close to seeing that level of activity resume. And we are continuing to see our tenants struggle with hiring employees. And so we had the job fair a couple of weeks ago, which really helped. We had 150 people come out. Several of our tenants ended up hiring people from that event. We actually hired someone from that event as well in our building maintenance division, and we're going to continue to support our tenants. We've asked them to have all of our restaurants and shops back open. Our valet parking operators trying to get valet back open. But it's a challenge getting the people in the door to work those positions. And so we're working with them to do as much as we can to make the airport an attractive environment. Next week, some big news that Frank and I will be working on is the AFTIL study for the new air traffic control tower. You guys approved an agreement with the FAA in September of 2019 to get that process started. We were scheduled to go to the lab in Atlantic City in September of 2020 to have phase 1 done, but that got delayed because of COVID. Then it was pushed to February, now it's pushed to June, but we're on the books. We're doing a virtual sighting of the new tower. And so everything's gonna be online, and we have a series of meetings next week through Zoom, I think, Frank,
yes,
with the FAA. There's about 30 people in the FAA that are part of that. And we'll have the new location and the height of the new tower as phase 1. We hope to have that complete next week, and then we'll move into after 2, which is really the layout of the cab, the top portion of the tower. This is really important, and we're really pushing this because we are going to try to position ourselves to secure infrastructure dollars through the federal infrastructure bill. I've been talking with our federal delegation. I'm also inviting state senators here. Next week, I have a couple here coming on a tour. I'm going to try to get a patchwork of funding together to provide funding for the tower so that we don't have to go into debt and issue bonds that our airlines have to pay in the future. And so in parallel to the AFTIL study being complete, Frank and his team are going to issue an RFQ to select an engineering and architectural firm to go ahead and start the design work for the tower. The goal is to have the design work done by this time next year so that we can go out to bid for a contractor, assuming we get the funding to do that. So it's pretty exciting. I feel like we're making some progress, and I would say that's probably one of the silver linings of COVID, that we're going to be able to get some funding for this very important infrastructure need.
Great.
Fabio presented our budget last month. I think he has a few minor changes, but he's going to go over the budget with you and our financials. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Fabio.
Great, thank you. So as Alexis mentioned, April of 2020, the airport felt the full effects of the pandemic. We were moving toward it in March, but April, it really hit us hard. We had about 5,100 enplaned passengers for the month. So with that, we're going to compare ourselves against 21 and 19. And as you can see, our revenues for April of 21 compared to 19 are about 20% down for that month, 27% down fiscal year to date. Expenses, we really cut costs, as you know, in March forward, and we've managed to maintain lower expenses. We're down 11% across the board. That's a savings of about $2 million. Even though our revenue is down about $9 million fiscal year to date, we're still making up lost ground with our reduced spending. Net operating income down about 44%, $7.4 million. Our food and beverage, 66% down fiscal year to date, 38% down. But it's important to note the 10% reduction in revenues for retail from April over April. That was pretty strong April we had this year for retail. Parking down about 58%, still about $4.9 million lower than previous fiscal year 19, and our ground transportation down about 30%. Rent-a-car transaction days, there is a rent-a-car shortage. We're still experiencing that here at TUL as other airports are, and the rent-a-car transaction days are down about 48%, 320 less transaction days this fiscal year over previous fiscal year. RVS, we had weather issues in 19, April, May kind of carried forward with some unprecedented weather, but we're only down about 5% fiscal year to date in our operations and 5% for our fuel flow, with only 1% down for the month of April. So we're starting to see that activity pick up as well. Enplaned passengers, 31% down from April 19 and 51% down fiscal year to date. About 629,000 less passengers this year than last year. Cargo, we're up actually 3%, so that's a positive if there is one. 8% down for the fiscal year, 4.1 million pounds lower this fiscal year than previous. This slide's kind of a new to the deck slide. This tracks our revenue over the last 3 fiscal year to dates through April. And blue is 2020. And as you can see, we had a strong early 2020. We were really tracking above budget, above previous fiscal year. And then March, we started to feel the effects in April. The yellowish line is 2021. As you can see, it kind of follows the same trajectory as 19. A little lower in revenue count, but we're still following that trajectory. So we've had a lot of activity this month. If you've parked in the garage, you notice it's harder to find a space, which is a good thing. So we're starting to see people return back to the airport. Our expenses fiscal year to date, I mean, we've cut expenses and we're doing more with less and really doing our best to save money and be fiscally responsible. And we're carrying that forward. The entire fiscal year 21, we're operating well below the prior 2 fiscal years. With April, we kind of matched it and a little spike there in March, but overall, we're still significantly lower. In plane passengers, kind of a good story here. As you can see, we're following that trend of previous calendar and fiscal years. January, February, typically a slower month. However, we're starting to ride that summer wave up. And we were down about 31% for the calendar. And this is where we compare our budget. We've been tracking about 10 to 8%. We've actually started to close that gap. 5% down from our budget where we anticipated we'd be, about $1.4 million lower. The big area is still our parking and rental car area, about 3.3 million down, but we're hopeful that this recent trend in activity will help close that gap. Our expenses still significantly lower, 19% down, almost a $4 million savings in expenses from where we anticipated. And we'd already cut our budget by about 2% in early March of last year for the pandemic. We're tracking at 6.6 net. We're actually at 9.2. So our reduced spending is helping cushion the lack of revenue coming in. The next slide just compares where we were to fiscal year 2020. I mean, we had a strong year this year. We started to pick up last year. We had a really strong early year, 24% down, still 13% down in our expenses. Our debt service, we're short about $4 million, so we're relying on our cash on hand. We have our grants from the FAA to supplement our operating expenses, which we're using, and we're just shifting money to cover debt service at this point. And our final slide, our days of cash on hand. We're tracking at about $19 million liquid cash on hand throughout the fiscal year. Compared to our budget, which we're operating below budget, we're about 275 days of cash on hand. And a lot of that is to do with the supplemental revenue or income from the grants. Our debt service, as of May, we had 1 month to go. We've paid that month debt service already. So our debt service for 21 is fully paid. No worries there. Our debt service reserve, we have 14 months. Our debt does go down next year, and where we allocate our bond reserves for taxable and tax exempt slightly to align with our debt, but we should have about 12 to 13 months of debt service reserve next year as well. I believe that's the last of my slides. Any questions?
No. We'll go right into the budget.
Sure. So last month I presented the budget for you. There was a few minor changes. You had a special meeting where the FAA appropriated full funding for 3 grants. That actually helped us. It reduced our capital searching for the word, our capital constraint. We needed about $300,000, almost $400,000 more in capital funding for those projects because the FAA is fully funding the ARF, the snow equipment, and the pavement index study. That reduces our obligation, reduces what we have to cover for cash for that debt service. So that was really the major change in our draft budget to what we're presenting today. We have about a $46.9 million total obligation for the budget, $390,000 less than what was presented earlier. With that, we also had some minor verbiage changes added to the section L of the rates, fees, and charges. We just added the words per square foot next to the rates. The rates remain the same. So with that, approved fiscal year, July 1, 2021 through June 30, 22. Fiscal year 22 TAIT budget, schedule of rates, fees, and charges, and the operating budget for management and parking system. Management recommends approval.
Okay. Any questions? Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those no. Budget is approved.
Thank you.
Regional development time.
Yes. So I wanted to bring this to you to provide a formal update at a board meeting about the status of the airport hotel that was the Clarion Inn. As you drove in this morning, you probably saw the demolition is underway, which is very exciting. We've been working with the owners, Pete and Tina Patel, and Pete Patel is here with us today to talk about the development plan for many years. I mean, this is something that's been going on for several years as we negotiate terms of a new lease or stay with the existing lease. We've talked about, what type of hotel and property you want to have there. And then COVID hit. I mean, we were almost there and then COVID hit. And of course, that created some additional delays to the timeline. So they have presented a new timeline. Of course, demolition did start this week. They're scheduled to complete demolition August 1st. Then they have a plan to have drawings begin August 15th. And that'll last through the beginning of next year. So February 1st, they'll be at 100% for plans and specs for the new hotel. And then the plan to finalize their contractor bids by April 1st and construction May 1st of 2022 will begin. And then a new hotel is scheduled to be ready to open May 1st of 2023. Now, if they can get it done sooner, I know they will, right, Pete? And I welcome you to come up if you'd like to add anything to what I've shared, or if the board has any questions for them. Come on.
Yeah, our plans are hopefully to meet that timeline. There's a lot of market conditions, as you guys know, with labor shortage and lumber challenges. Yeah, and things like that. And gosh, we've had a lot of rain, so weather conditions, and so, but we want to be very aggressive with this, and Lexus, we hope to deliver to beat that timeline. So.
Good. Thanks, Pete.
Nice to see you. So more to come, and
What's the flag? What's the flag on it?
it's going to be Hilton branded property, but I don't think they've determined yet which one.
So, Jeff, we're looking at two options. We've always had plans for Hampton Inn and Suites. During COVID, market conditions changed a little bit. Hilton introduced several years ago a brand called Home 2 Suites. You guys, some of y'all may have stayed in it. It's very similar to Hampton, but it seems to be more resilient through the pandemic. Their occupancies didn't drop at all. So they tend to cater towards a little bit more of an extended stay crowd. So it's a blend of extended stay and business travel, which we think could work perfectly at the hotel with all of the projects going on around. So we want to entertain that idea. If Hilton allows us to do that, we would rather do that brand. And then again, we have, if things, market condition demand dictates maybe additional hotel on that site, there's quite a bit of land there. So that's great.
Good, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that is just discussion, no action needed. Schindler Elevator Corporation.
It's a approved contract with Schindler Elevator Corporation in amount not to exceed $255,410 for the air traffic control tower elevator modernization project. TAIT received one responsive bid, and this is to go in and replace numerous parts to upgrade and modernize a 1958 elevator that has issues staying in service. But most importantly, it'll bring it completely up to current elevator codes so that we can continue to keep it in operation. So management recommends approval.
It's a painful expense, right?
It is.
Because we know, I just talked about the new tower, but we have to be able to provide an avenue for the controllers to get to the top. So.
They haven't really had one anywhere.
Reluctantly move approval.
One second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. RBS Private Hangar Insurance.
Yes, sir. Approved renewal of RDS private hangar insurance group policy with Ace Chubb, and the premium will be $24,228 effective July 21st. This is a private hangar insurance group policy that we provide to the tenants out there who participate. That's a great program. There's going to be a $5,000 deductible on an aircraft claim this time. And the premium is about 16% up from last year.
The insurance is just crazy. Okay. Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right, the next one is approved renewal of employment practices and public officials liability insurance with Navigators Company, effective June 22nd. And then we're gonna take that all the way to June 30th. We're gonna extend the term so we can get them synced up with our fiscal year. And then that's going to be, the approval amount is going to be $30,740. And that's a 6% increase over last year.
Okay. Have a motion?
Move approval,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Contracts.
Item 9 is accept selection and approve award of contract for architectural design services for the escalator replacement Phase 4 project to TAIT Architecture Group, PC Incorporated, in the amount not to exceed $43,656. This contract will prepare plans and specifications for 4 escalators, one on Concourse A, one on Concourse B, and a pair at the east end of ticketing. Management recommends approval.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 9 is approved.
Number 10 is to the approve a estoppel consent and recognition agreement between Tulsa Airports Improvement Trust, ET Tulsa LLC, and U.S. Bank National Association, effective upon execution of the property of the parties. And of course, this is for financing.
We're gonna withdraw that. We don't have that ready yet.
Okay, we are withdrawing.
Okay. How about agreement regarding sanitary sewer line?
Okay, so number 11 would be approve the following agreement regarding location of sanitary sewer lines, water lines, stormwater detention facilities, and offsite overland drainage facilities within Tulsa International Airport properties. B is the deed of dedication for 60 feet of public street right-of-way on 36th Street North. And C is the notice of location of electric service lines with AEP PSO. These are similar to easements, but since it's our property, we're the ones granting the different access and different lines and everything else to ET Tulsa 1 for the development there on the corner.
So are these two tied together, or we can go ahead and approve this?
We can approve
11 altogether, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Is approve agreement with Kyle Sanchez DBA Family Fund for music services in the terminal for 1 year with 2 mutual 1-year options to renew, effective July 1st, 2021. And of course, this is the big
Speaking
Right
of,
on time.
Great music, great timing.
can you plug the nickel for that?
Oh, geez. So yes, these are the big touch-tone devices that people can either have an app to play music over the speakers around the terminal, and
People have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
They really do. And it's fun for us to be able to tell people we didn't pick the music.
Very true, very true.
Although we have a filter on it.
We do have
Yeah, we do have
filters, yeah, of
filters,
course.
All right. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right, next one, approve assignment of sublease and acknowledgement and consent to assignment from the Conant Trust to Matthew Hawkins, effective upon the closing, but no later than June 30th, 2021. And that is hangar, lot 2, block 1B in the Northwest hangar area.
Okay. Motion?
Move approval item 13.
Is this, quick question, this is RBS or is this?
Yes, this is RBS.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Approve assignment of sublease and acknowledgement of consent to assignment from Joe M. and Colleen Gilbert to Kevin and Lisa Toller, effective upon approval. And again, this is lot 14, block 8 in Northeast Hangar Development Area at RVS.
So moved.
Approve item 14.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 15.
15, I do have to, we had a typo, so we are approving acknowledgement of consent to subtenant of Camtronics LLC, not Cavu, I apologize for that, for HFSC 9 LLC, effective upon approval. And again, it's lots 15 and 16, block 7 in RVS.
Okay. Motion.
Move approval item 15.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
And last one is approve acknowledgement and consent to collateral assignment from Spectrum Energy Services to Prosperity Bank, effective upon closing, but no later than June 30th, 2021, and subject to release of collateral from Triad Bank. And again, at RBS.
Motion.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. New TAIT business. TAA business. Somebody's favorite motion.
I'd like to move, we adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Second.
Any opposed? So all in favor?
Aye.
Good deal.